I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's a filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, $125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. $125 gets you there. You do that 3 times and then get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at insori@gmail.com and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is a community option. $1 at the gate gets you in a Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go on the village, facebook.com/VinandSori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy merch indeed. Charles, I'll lead them.
To buy our merch.
Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener. We are at the beginning of the True Cult.
True Cult.
True Cult Alliance, dear listener.
Yes, you know what it is. On Patreon, that's how you get into the alliances. You join for as little as $1 a month. And then you get the link from us about the Discord channel. And then from there, actually I gotta plug this in. From there, you join alliances, and then that helps influence our song list.
Yes, as you know, we are expanding. So it's not just a song list. We got movie lists. We got shows. We're in negotiation for maybe a marathon 2 or 3 day thingamajiggy.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a lot of things coming down the pike. And we're excited about all of them. We're excited about all of them. We plan to use up the tech.
Yep.
In a way that is
benefits you all.
Benefits all you beautiful people.
All right, up first is a band called Demilich. Demilich. The name of the song is Raped, Embalmed, Beauty Sleep. Yikes.
Why does it name that song? Jesus.
Yep.
Okay.
Let's see. The band photo is this, the black and white photo there. You'll see right there. Boop. And let's see what Nile. I believe that Nile is the leader of this true. Yes, he is. Nile is the leader of this True Cult group. And he says this song is Misery Biz's selection for our Alliance celebration. It's from the album entitled Nesfaith. Nesfaith. Released in 1993. Misery Biz had this to say about their pick. I wanted you to hear this time a band that is considered an essential for their respective genre and region. Demilich is a technical avant-garde death metal band from Finland and fits to that description.
That sounds like a Death Metal Omega. That avant-garde thing, don't really...
I gotta tell you, this is brilliant, the way that you figured out how to do this. Looks really good.
I'm the man.
You are. That's true.
Eche como.
It can't be denied.
Eche como. All right, guys.
All right, let's check it out.
Let's check it out.
And you've got the lyrics. Just scroll up to the
We got the lyrics in this bitch. Song numero uno. All right. Let's freaking go, T-Wolves. I'm with it. I'm glad Yo Chick lost. I wish DJ was here. I'd be mocking him heavy. Anytime like somebody gets found not guilty, he's like, we got you.
Oh no, really? Oh my gosh.
Funny. All right, here we go. Song number 1, Demilich. All right, here we go. Let's do it.
I mean,
Do you see he mentioned Taylor Swift, right?
no.
Look,
What?
you might. Oh, wait. You might also like the cry Demilich when the sun drank the weight of water. Him like so. You are doomed.
Wait.
Is that the notes from what's his face?
Did you
Command F it.
Oh shoot! You know what probably happened?
Can you Command F it?
I mean, it's not gonna have Taylor Swift, babe.
Well, I don't know if the guy made mention of Taylor Swift.
You know what's happening?
So
I
that
think
was Neil's comment in the song.
I don't know. You know what it probably was? When I copy and pasted the lyrics, it probably copied an ad.
Okay,
So
I
don't know.
I wasn't feeling the vocals.
Oh my gosh, what the fuck?
I don't know if that was like burpcore or whatever,
Burpcore.
but it sounded like the dude was like belching, man.
It really did.
Like I don't necessarily know how I feel about that. You see what I'm saying? Like,
To be honest with you, it made
Seeing the
me
art
feel
form.
nauseous.
the song came out before we were born, so there's also
Yeah,
that.
Well,
I mean, the vocals were who picked this
I'm sorry.
song? Is this Misery? Misery picked this song?
Yeah, I guess Misery picked this one. You know what?
I need clarity. I need to know for sure who did this.
Yeah, Misery Biz had this.
Who's responsible for this? All right.
Yeah, it's
read,
Misery Biz's selection.
Read Misery Biz's comment. It's probably like he didn't want.
I
anybody
wanted
else
you
to
to
be
hear
happy.
this band that is considered an essential for their respective genre and region. They're a technical avant-garde death metal band from Finland, and it fits to that description. Okay, I'm just gonna be 100 with you guys. This song, in my opinion, I have no space in my like artistic framework to enjoy a song like this. The lyrics, I mean, the vocals was just, I'm sorry, because probably this band doesn't get a lot of reactions, and here they come, and here we come. I do feel bad for that, but no, this is not something that I couldn't enjoy Judas Priest when I first heard it either, but I have a feeling this one is not going to function like that for me. I don't think that after some time...
Like Judas Priest, our problem was like he was too talented.
No, that's not how I felt. I thought it sounded ridiculous.
It sounded ridiculous because he's the man hitting these ridiculous notes. But you have to be very talented in order to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you can't. If I were to say to somebody, do a Judas Priest impression, 9.9 people out of 10 are gonna make absolute fools of themselves just because they can't hit the note. This is not that.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Any
Like
fourth
sometimes
grader,
I'm like, yo, where's the like? Like I understand, like we don't need to conform and 4/4. Like I get it, but like,
but I mean,
you're belching, my boy.
let's.
I feel like if we got this man, what that pink stuff people used to drink back in the day,
Pepto-Bismol.
that'd be the end of his career. All right, let's look at these lyrics here.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, lyrically, it was kind of an interesting. I thought it was interesting lyrically because it sounds like it's a group of friends. Third paragraph, it says many dangers have wounded you and your friends. So it sounded like that they were kind of on the top of this pyramid, cleft on a pyramid. That means there's a cleft, there's a spot to get in, right?
Yeah. Or to just brace yourself so you don't fall over, like cleft in the rock.
Yeah,
And
but this one
steady
they
you when
went
you're
inside,
climbing.
so they had shown you a secret passage. You carelessly force your way in, and the smell of death frightens ruthlessly. Okay, so when I was listening to the lyrics of this song, I was thinking two things. One is the storyline that was going on with him and his friends, like going in and, it doesn't look like it ends well for them. And also, remember that movie that we watched and you were like, oh, this is one of those movies where like the guy, you could just tell that his Achilles heel was going to destroy him.
Yeah.
What was the name of that movie?
I don't want to say.
Oh, okay.
Because that's going to be
Well,
a spoiler,
it
for
would be a
God's sake.
spoiler. That's true. Well, plug your ears. Anyway,
Shout out to Nelson Perez.
it kind of reminded
You
me.
look like some futuristic cult leader with that. That double sash.
The book will be coming out soon.
The double sash. Yeah, and you're like, you look really intense right now. Holy shit. It's mesmerizing. All right, go ahead.
Good. I'll use that to my
Say the
benefit.
king is enthralled by your beauty, Aristotle.
But it reminded me of that. Like you can, I think maybe the older that you
Delaney
get,
in this bitch!
you can see it like with younger people. You're like, that's destructive.
Yeah.
And you know that if they don't correct paths, it will crash. It will.
And burn.
And burn, yeah. And it may destroy a lot around it. So, but, you know, like, you keep seeing them, like, going on this path, and you're, you know, there's only so much you can't force
You sound like you're like a parent. You're going down this path. You talking about the band?
No, I'm talking about the lyrics of this song remind me of seeing someone in that situation, or being in that situation yourself, where you almost feel like you're like, remember those carts on Donkey Kong?
Mm-hmm.
Remember the cart ones? And like when you were going down, like there was really no stopping it. You were just like going, like sometimes it feels like that. Like, I don't know if you've ever experienced that, like where you recognize like this really destructive pattern in yourself and you're like, I should change this. But you just don't seem to, like, I don't know, make the connection and make that change until you crash, and then you're like, now I'm going to make some change.
All right, so
it kind of reminded me of that as you're seeing the story progress, because, I mean, they're at the top of this pyramid, and they can smell death coming through, but they force their way carelessly into the situation.
This sounds to me like a tomb robbing thing.
Yeah, but when they get in there...
Because you know those curses follow you once you get out. You ever heard of that?
Oh, yeah. But
like
this one...
These Egyptian burial grounds and shit, because you're trying to rob it, because it's got all the jade and the ivory and like, it follows you around for the rest of your life. I mean, according to the legend. It says, many dangers have wounded you and your friends. Some embalmed corpses have blinked their eyes. No, that's an illusion. But you feel there's something wrong. You've seen too many corpses. Maybe this is a mass tomb. If not, you will know you'll never be back. You are doomed. More and more corpses, some of them dismembered, and every member embalmed. Now you are horrified to death. You are doomed. You enter a hall, thousands of corpses lying there, stench smarting your nose, horror paralyzing all the thoughts. Suddenly all the corpses awake, you're trying to escape, but soon you'll be one of them, sleeping embalmed beauty sleep. So it's this story of these friends that go in there, and obviously, like, they're not going to make it out. The curse isn't going to follow them. They're staying inside this pyramid because all the corpses just woke up. But, like I said, that's why I had the dual storyline. One is the actual storyline of this song, and the other one is people's lives and the decisions that they make that are absolutely... You carelessly barged into this pyramid, and you smelt this... This is a pyramid, and if you're trying to rob the grave, like, I mean, we're talking about ancient Egypt here. So you shouldn't smell the stench of death. Right.
That should have been long gone. That should have cost you some pause. But that's why I said it. It reminds me just of life and watching people just barrel down bad paths, and you're like, this isn't going to end well.
No.
So, yeah, that's what the song was to you.
The song is about a D&D bad guy. I mean, I was really interested in Egyptology when I was a kid. I was really fascinated with the fact that they were so advanced. You know, like, that was my thing. It's like, yo, these people are... They got this entire... And obviously their religious stuff too was like mega developed. Like their religions and
we weren't allowed to look into it.
The dead and all this other jazz. It's a pretty crazy situation. A sentence of cipher, an unknown forgotten language, you decipher its name. Many dangers have wounded you and your friends. Yeah, man, like,
that's what I'm saying. I mean,
these archaeologists, man, they go out there and you know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of a crazy kind of situation, because it's like, yo. And especially if you're a secularist. Like, I always wonder, like, with the Skinwalker Ranch stuff, like, if you're a secularist and you have no category for the supernatural, I don't know, like, how do they deal with that? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's weird. Like, I was listening to, I forget what it was, with this guy, like, he ended up in hell or some shit like that. And he was like, I would have never believed it until I experienced it myself.
Is that the near-death experiences stuff that we're listening to?
Mm-hmm.
That's a crazy listen.
So, yeah. That whole thing is following us around, and I'm not sure, you know, I don't really know how I feel about curses as far as, like, how that gets manifested in the physical world. I don't get it.
Well, you know, we were listening to that thing that was talking about, like, you see the concept in, not Lord of the Rings, J.K. Rowling's books.
Harry Potter.
You know, like, where, like,
somebody's
energy is put into an item, And you
Right.
have like, remember Pasulka was talking about the like Greek mythology and stuff, and like a muse, like the concept of a muse, and you have that in museum. And so she was talking about almost like these ancient deities that sort of, well, I'm paraphrasing what she said, and this is partially what I got from it, not necessarily what she was directly saying. So take it. I'm not like Vin. Vin's really good with his facts like that, but like she basically, I think, was saying that there are like almost like these ancient gods or whatever that sort of pass on, and in each generation they manifest themselves differently that fits more of the time period that they're in. But like the concept of like a museum and like collecting a bunch of stuff from a particular era, and the importance of that, and the symbolism being on a lot of the different items. So I can't remember where I was going with that.
If you feel there's something wrong, you've seen too many corpses, maybe this. I would like to ask, like, the atheists / agnostics, whatever. What situation would get you to really reconsider your unbelief system?
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously, as a Christian, you have to answer those questions. You're like, well, if Jesus didn't physically rise from the dead, then it's all over. You know what I'm saying? We put all the chips,
Yeah.
at the front of the table. And so if somebody could definitively prove Jesus didn't rise from the dead, then I would not be a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is, what could you hear or see that would make you abandon your unbelief system?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
See what I'm saying? That's just as valid, because the human psyche is pretty crazy. Greetings from Grecia. All right,
Yeah, we've been listening to this like near-death experiences stuff. It's absolutely fascinating, and also like, I don't know, sort of earth-shattering in a way. Like, if you don't have a belief system, I could see how hearing this information would be really like scary. Because some people have these really crazy positive experiences, and then other people like that, like this one guy did not believe there was anything after. He thought it was basically like you unplug the machine and that was it. But he finds himself having a near-death experience, and they clock him as being dead, but he was gone, and he has this entire terrifying experience. And when he gets back, like he's a completely different person and lives his life entirely different. And so I wonder if it's one of those type of situations. Like, I was thinking, you could look at Christianity and say those people are crazy because they have a belief system that they can't necessarily prove in the physical world. Like, it's not like there's a physical Jesus walking right here and we're like, there's the guy that rose from the dead. We see the effects that his resurrection had, one, on the historical time period and how those people reacted, and the danger that they put themselves in and lost their lives for him, not because of a belief system, but because they said they saw him, a risen Christ. And so they went from being complete cowards. I mean, you say cowards, but maybe it was just, I can't imagine living in the Roman Empire and seeing people crucified on the side of the road, and then being a part of a movement that your leader then gets crucified. Like, that's going to be a terrifying thing. So I say cowards, but I mean, really, like, you're asking people don't even want to post something on Facebook. Like, there's one of our commenters that was talking, there was a video that we did, and we ended up, obviously, the topic was like abortion and stuff like that. And he said, like, whatever you said was really moving, but he said, I've got family members that, they're very pro-choice. And he said, a number of the women in my family have had abortions. He's like, I don't agree with it, but I don't want to break relationship with them by saying it. And it's like, okay, so as Americans, this guy recognizes it's the wrong thing, but won't even stand up for the lives of these babies. Never mind, like, back then, like, you could be crucified? What? So I just think that, that'd be pretty difficult. But anyway, I mean, I could see how people could, whatever about Christianity, but at the same time, I think that it's really crazy to live in a physical world and reject the spiritual and say, I know that what happens after is going to be unplugging the machine, there's going to be nothing, or I know that I've done enough good so I can get in the good graces of God, or I know, like, I know that our belief system is based in ancient texts and in the person of Jesus Christ and what he said and his life. And then it's a message that has so many different authors, but the same message is all the way through the scripture. So there's like reasons why you could say, okay, well, I can't know everything about Christianity, but there's a lot of stuff that I can point to that gives me great confidence. I mean, obviously we have faith, that's what we talk about, but yeah, I was just like thinking, because that guy was so sure that it was like unplugging the machine, but then when he had his near-death experience, and that was the grace of God that he got in that situation, because then he was like, it was terrifying, it was horrible, like, and it was never ending. I mean, that's
brutal.
Yeah. Anyway,
brutal.
So this song is a 2. I'm sorry, I am not a fan of this style at all. The lyrics were interesting. You know, story-wise,
when I
haven't come across this story.
When I hear avant-garde, I immediately think of Deathspell, Omega, because that's the only band. I think BM band introduced me to that one. Sounds like, yeah, like you try to listen to it, but what I love about Deathspell is that the lyrics are so dense. They're saying a lot, whereas this band,
yeah, they are, yeah,
you know, not so much. It's a solid 5 for me.
All right, you guys, True Cult.
Shout out to the band. Gang shit on the way.
True Cult,
bitches. See you on the other
right
side of the break.
back.
Commercial break. Right back. I'm Vin.
I'm sorry.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the Filthy Capitalist option. As Sori says, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and then get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at insori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go on the village, facebook.com/Vinand Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 here and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed. It shall lead them.
To buy our merch.
Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener. We are now
In song
dealing with a
number
band
2.
called Nile.
Nile, lashed to the slave stick.
Lashed to the slave stick.
I was like, did I say that right? Yeah. Okay, there's the band photo. There they are. And let's see what Neil has to say. Neil says this pick was selected by Archero for our Alliance celebration. Nile are a long-established technical death metal band from South Carolina.
Yes, sir.
This
Robert.
track is taken from the 2005 album Annihilation of the Wicked. Archero had a lot to say about this one. Says Neil. Here we go.
God, here we go.
This has been a long time coming. Nile is a top 3 band for me. Unfortunately, y'all got off on a bad foot with them. Your first reaction was Call to Destruction. The lyrics to that song are critical toward Islam, which Vin didn't take kindly to. And that really colored your view of the song.
He's completely wrong.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Man,
I remember.
You have such a good memory.
I remember that review. People just can't accept that I don't like something.
Next, you reacted to Dream of Now, I enjoyed that song, but it's an example of a slower, creepier sort of song. They like to throw in here and there, but it's not really what most people think of when they think of Nile. So you had 2 negative reactions to the band, both now 5 years ago. I have always thought you needed to hear a straightforward death metal banger, which had nothing to do with Islam, to give the band a well-deserved redemption. Fingers crossed.
I think what happened, we got in an argument about the hijab or something like that in one of our videos.
Oh.
And, you know, obviously it was catalyzed by Nile, but I didn't have a problem with Nile. That wasn't the problem. But are we ready to go?
No, remember, it's a long one.
We're still reading it.
We're only paragraph 1 and 3. 1 of 3. An important thing to know about Nile is that Carl Sanders, guitar player and secondary vocalist, is deeply versed in Egyptology. Most of their songs are about subjects from ancient Egypt mythology, their Book of the Dead, famous figures, or even customs common to the time. Carl frequently writes extensive linear notes explaining the factual inspirations for the song.
Mm-hmm.
The slave stick that this song refers to was depicted in ancient Egyptian literature as a punishment to the enemies of the gods. It was a large tree branch which could be up to 6 feet long and in the shape of a Y. A strip of leather would be attached to the fork end of the stick in order to fasten it around a man's neck, and the long end of the stick would then hang forward so the man carried the stick by the neck. Sometimes the man's hands would also be tied to the stick. The long end of the stick could also be driven into the ground, effectively holding the man captive in that spot. Needless to say, a brutal punishment, but you can see how it would inspire a death metal song.
All right, here we go. This should be interessante.
Crazy.
Prepare to suffer, bitches.
Yep.
This is Nile.
Lashed to the slave stick.
Lashed to the slave stick. The band is Nile. We are Vinand and Sori.
Let's go.
Alrighty then. That was
Ridiculous.
Nile. What were your thoughts on that one, Missy?
That one's okay. First of all, that like screamy sort of like it sounded like the demons were like coming toward us and flying
toward the
by.
end.
Yeah, that actually happened. I think at least twice in the song. That was ridiculous. I thought that was super cool sounding. Definitely the vocal style of this one, like that, like sort of commanding was better. I like that better. Hold on, I'm pulling up my lyrics here. I mean, Ra's kind of a dick. What?
Why? What did he do wrong?
These people are really gonna suffer because they pissed off Ra, right? That's what's going on.
Don't we say that about our God? Like, people are gonna suffer? What are you talking about?
Well, no, I mean, these, like, people are gonna get chopped up, cut into pieces, all this nine, but, like, Jesus came down and went on a cross to make a way for us. These people, I don't believe that Ra has any mercy. First of all, I actually was not familiar with this side of Ra. The only thing that I've ever known was that it was the sun god, and so I assumed it was like this, like, whenever I thought of Ra, I always thought it was because I love the sun. So when I thought sun god, I'm like, oh, okay, this is like, you know, it brings life, the warmth, the, you know, whatever. I didn't know that he was this serious.
Well, don't you believe that the gods of the Gentiles are demons?
Oh, I do.
So how could you have an unserious demon at that level? Like, Egypt is like...
yeah, no, that makes sense. But I think that because it was the sun god, you know how I feel about the sun.
It's so weird.
I don't think I really looked into it.
You thought he was nice to people?
Well, no, I mean, I thought that it was like people were worshiping the sun. And so if their crops weren't doing good, then they thought that they had to, like, you know, whatever. But, I mean, the pharaoh represented the sun god. So you'd have to say, I mean, he did wield his power,
I'm just surprised that you had an issue with Ray. I mean, he's not... All right, let's see. Fiends, criminals, slaves, blasphemers, the word of Ra is against thee! Ye are fettered and bound with leather straps, helpless, doomed, wailing in unendurable torment.
Oh my gosh.
Lashed to the forked slave stick by the neck. Lashed to the slave stick, abata anket. Nabteb satcha. Lashed to the slave stick.
Nah.
Mercy. Your evil deeds have turned against you. Some of these stuff is quoting directly from the Egyptian Book of the Dead.
Oh, have you read that?
Yeah. Your evil deeds have turned against you.
This guy's memory is...
Your plottings have come up... Well, the Egyptian Book of the Dead is a pretty famous document. It's nothing... You know what I'm saying?
His memory is incredible. People, I see it because I've been
special.
frequenting the comment sections. People will be like, oh, he probably studied this right before. I'm like, you know, no. We just loaded up and he started talking. He's got a good memory.
Unserious Demon sounds like a great name for a satirical metal band. Yeah. Unserious Demon. Okay, go
So
ahead.
the Eye of Horus, is...
I see all-seeing eye, man.
Yeah, what does that have to do with Ra? Was it just like same time period, or is that another?
Oh, Horus was
another
a god. Yeah, Horus was a god. They had a divine council, very similar to ours, and very similar to the Babylonians. So, like,
okay,
the word of raise against it. I mean, if you look at it, I was just I'm taken off guard by you calling Ray a dick. Like, I didn't understand. I didn't see what he did that was so bad.
The evil deeds have turned against
like you. If you blaspheme the God, obviously he's gonna get at you. Like, how is that?
Yeah, but what did they do?
What do you mean? It says at the beginning, fiends, criminals, slaves, blasphemers.
A slave?
The word of raise against thee. Like,
because
what's the
you're
problem?
a slave?
Well, no, not necessarily because you're a slave, but whatever you're doing, that makes it so that he would be against you. They had rules, they had laws, and forget about that. What about the fiends, the slaves, and the blasphemers? Like, the Bible says that God is against blasphemers and criminals and shit.
Yeah, it does, but it also gives the hope. Like, for me, when I got down to the part where it was over here, like, your corruptible body shall be cut to pieces, your soul shall have no existence. You shall never again see Ra as he journeyeth into the hidden land. The doom of Ra is upon you. All I was thinking about was, if you guys have ever read this story, it's really ridiculous when you actually like sit down and read the details.
Which
And
one?
Cain and Abel.
Oh.
And like Cain is like out of friggin' pocket the way he's talking to God, and like God doesn't like, okay, as a parent, if my child talks to me like that, I'm like, yo, you let them talk more, like get what's on their chest off. I'm like, well, we'll get to that, but first I don't want to be disrespected in the process here. So like seeing how God was with Cain and the like disrespectful way that God talked, the disrespectful way Cain talked to God, I think is just crazy. And as I was telling it to our 4-year-old, he was like, he couldn't believe it either. And then like at the end of the story, like, you know, obviously Cain kills his brother Abel.
Spoiler!
Yeah.
Should have done spoiler alert!
Yeah, you should have read your Bible before this review. So basically, Cain kills his brother Abel, but before he does, like, God meets with him and he says, listen, sin is crouching at the door and its desire is to have you, but you must rule over it. And of course, Cain doesn't listen to that. He just goes full into it, kills his brother, and then when God comes to him and he says, like, well, where's your brother? Then he starts acting like he doesn't know. The lying starts, the you know, focusing on something. He's like, well, am I my brother's keeper? Like, what, am I in charge of my brother constantly, even though he knew full well exactly where he dropped his brother? And so him and God have this back and forth, and basically God says, like, you're
banished.
No, he didn't banish him. He said you're punished and you can no longer work the ground. Like, the ground is not going to yield to you its fruit. Now you're really going to fight to do that. And so Cain is like, oh my word, this punishment is more than I can bear. He can't stand himself. And then he's like, and when I go about, like, people are going to kill me because they're going to recognize who I am. So then God puts a mark on his forehead, which whenever we heard this story before, it always seemed like it was like, I don't know if you heard it that way. It was like God was angry with him, put the stamp on him, instead of like God was like protecting him and loving him. Well, after God situates him, he's like, yeah, peace, and he leaves the presence of God and doesn't come back. But it's just crazy to see how these people, I mean, obviously Yahweh is called the Most High because there are these other smaller gods. They're not in the same category as Yahweh, but they're smaller beings that are powerful, and they're represented by Ra, like they made gods out of them. You know, they would worship them and stuff. So it's just crazy to see, like, the actual Most High having that conversation with Cain and coming down onto Cain's level. I mean, I don't know that these other gods would stand for that sort of treatment from their people. But on top of that, when it got down to your corruptible body shall be cut to pieces, your soul shall have no existence, you shall never again see Ra as he journeys to the hidden land. That reminded me of Cain, because in that story, Cain leaves, but like God was still there. Where in this one, the God is leaving. He's like, I'm out of here. And I do think that there is a point in time where that is going to happen. But before that happened, Jesus came and died on a cross. So it was, you know, for me, it was like juxtaposed.
He left the temple. He left the temple in Ezekiel.
Mm-hmm.
He killed lots of people for blasphemy. I mean, I mean, cutting people to pieces, all that shit. Jesus talked about that. Weeping and gnashing of teeth. There's a lot of times when Jesus told a parable and he didn't put any sugar on after it. There's a lot of times the chapter just ends. In that place, there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. End. Full stop. There's no.
That's true.
There's no like hope or whatever. Like, I don't know. Like, to me, this sounds like standard. You know, don't mess with the gods. And it also almost looks like, because he says, your doom has been decreed by Re. Your unjust and perverse judgment are upon yourselves. The wickedness of your own words or cursing are upon you. It is you who commandeth the unutterable and wrought iniquity in the great hall. So that to me is something you would say to a leader, a president, a king. Because you're talking about, you're complaining about unjust and perverse judgments. Only people in a power position can make such a... See what I'm saying? Do you not see it? It's right there.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. So what are you saying?
Well, obviously that's not every Tom, Dick, and Harry. That's obviously talking about the rulers in that particular area because they're in a position of judgment.
To be able to put judgment. Yep.
Right? And then later on he said, I mean, it comes out and explicitly states like, the wickedness of your words of cursing are upon you, which in that time in Egyptology only a priest could do that. And you know, again, this is more high. It's like a classist kind of takedown. The wickedness of the words of your cursing are upon you. It is you who have committed the unutterable and wrought iniquity in the great hall. So, the great hall, I'm assuming, is some sort of analogy for the church, and like. Apparently blasphemy of Ra and all these things undoes the sanctity of the great hall. You see it right there. So it's yeah, I mean, for me, I was like, wow, it's pretty close to what we say. Like, you know what I'm saying? So go ahead. What were your thoughts?
Well, I mean, no, I see what you're saying, because you're saying, well, there is still the cross. So I was looking at the cross angle of it. That here's this God that whatever happened to him, for whatever reason, he was offended. And so then he treats these people like that, to their corruptible bodies will be cut in pieces. But then you have Yahweh, who he is the Most High God, and you know, his offenses are, I don't know what offends Ra, but there's the cross. Jesus comes and puts him, he goes to the cross, which I think is crazy. Obviously, Ra didn't do anything like this. Ra was like, you crossed me, now I'm walking away from you, you're never gonna see me again. But when you hear the Christian story, you've got Jesus going to the cross. But you're right though, if you go full story, there are enemies of God that will be, you know, some depictions are, you know, trodden underneath the feet of the horses, and you know, like it does get pretty messy. So I do see what you're saying. I was looking at it from the like I said.
Well, even in the cross, like when Jesus was prophesying about the destruction of Jerusalem, he didn't give them any hope. He said, you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, you know the desolation is near. There's no hope. He talks about destroying the temple. He doesn't say, I'm going to bring you back to the land, we're going to rebuild the temple. He didn't say that. It just ends in destruction. The last thing we hear about them, folks, is Paul. Well, Paul says the wrath of God is coming upon them at last because they're hostile to all men. They killed the Lord Jesus. I mean,
careful.
Yeah, I know. Reading the Bible might be yeah, I don't see much of a difference between the way Ray is handling these people and the way that the God of the Old Testament is handling these people. Probably, if you really ask me, I would probably assume that God found some ways within Egyptian spirituality to bring those Egyptians back to himself. I'll just say it that way. But but yeah, obviously, like the musicianship on this one was insane compared to the other thing.
Really good. Yeah.
I did like the death vocals, which I don't know if I would have liked them as much if I didn't have to endure the burp fest for burp.
I agree, but nonetheless,
burp core, whatever the fuck.
That is how it was set up. So,
all right, this is 9.3 for me.
This is a 9 for me.
Commercial break, you losers.
We'll
we
be
shall
right
return.
back.
Hey, where's Tina? Tina's in this bitch. I gotta call it because that's what are we doing on this?
No,
I'm Vin.
I'm sorry.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the Filthy Capitalist option. As Sori says, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and then get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at insori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is a community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft. Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Vinand Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 here and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy merch indeed. Charles, lead them.
To buy our merch.
Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a true cult extravaganza. Oh my gosh.
What?
I just, this.
La ilaha illallah.
Lord, help us.
Okay.
Help us, Lord. Okay. True Cult is up tonight, and you know how they go. You know what type of music they do. Let's read what they have to say about this song. The name of the band is Ulcerate. The name of the song is Dissolved Orders.
Dissolved Orders, dear listener.
Neil says, this was my choice for our Alliance celebration. Ulcerate are a technical death metal band from New Zealand. This is the final track on their 2022 album Stare Into Death and Be Still, which was my personal favorite album of that year. You've previously reacted to the song The Destroyers of All by this band, and we made sure to note the drumming performance for that song. While the drumming performance on this track is still masterful, what made this my favorite album from 2020 was an increased injection of melody to their dissonant brand of technical death metal. This track in particular is a great representation to showcase this more pronounced wrinkle in their songwriting.
All right.
Ulcerate have a new album coming out in June entitled Cutting the Throat of God, which I have high hopes for being a favorite of mine for 2024.
Don't take any plane trips with me, my boy.
You know what? I'm not scared to fly, but don't take one in with me either.
There's gonna be some holy water all in this bitch. Take him, Lord. Take him.
Take him now.
All right, here we go. And I'm gonna put today's. Okay, let's go.
Ulcerate, dissolved orders.
That's why y'all got ulcers.
Yep.
Talking all this shit about the Most High.
Yep. Cutting the throat. Come on.
All right, here we go. Ulcerate. Y'all know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Dissolved orders. That doesn't sound nice. I like this song. Alrighty then. That, somebody said song of the night. Probably for me. Go ahead. What's going on with you, Missy?
Probably.
What's going on with you, Missy?
Well, I'm gonna let you start on this one.
No, I want to hear what you have to say now.
Well, I like this one. Like had a really strong start. I did feel like that the middle was too long. So I think I would have been better for like a 5-minute song instead of like what it would have like an 8 or 9 minute song.
Yeah, it's about 8:16,
Yeah.
8:15.
Also,
But
we watched the music video too. It was pretty gross.
It's freaky.
Anyway, yeah, it was actually interesting. I've never seen a music video like that, and it could generate a lot of different thoughts. So if you get the time, go check it out. So it says, stare down on the defeated, declare the Puritan, command by doctrine, feed off the backs of the dismal. So are we talking about religions that they declare themselves pure, but they command people by doctrine, like that's how they get people under their control?
Yeah. Obey
Contempt, give in as confines on this loathing fray, ripped apart and the aversion will vanish. I don't know what we're saying there.
That's go along with it. If you go along with it, then you'll be okay. The aversion will vanish.
Oh.
Obey contempt, give in as confines on this loathing fray, ripped apart, and the aversion will vanish. So
they're saying if you just dive into it, then your aversion to it will step to the side.
Yeah, whatever your individuality is that breaks from the norm.
Yeah.
They're basically saying, we're going to punish you for that, and you'll see when you start going along with us, everything will be easy. It's kind of the idea.
To be unmasked. But the verse before you were saying almost put on a mask.
What are you talking about?
Well, if you're going to obey, even though you don't want to, just so that way you can go along with it, then you're essentially putting on a mask where you look like you're all in on it, but you're really not. Yeah, but it says to be unmasked.
But the fact that you're going along with it reveals something about you, though. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's the thing about people that they think if they can't get read properly by people on the outside that they're good. Like, that's not necessarily the case. It may just be you're really good at tricking everybody, including yourself. That's like that Drake thing. He's like, if I was like that, then all these other people would be coming after me. That's not necessarily true. There's a whole bunch of reasons people wouldn't come after you.
Yeah.
Disappear for any hope at redemption, beset by shame. The scourge left trailing the parasitic. Entire orders eaten away from the inside, wrung dry out and spat out. They would turn in disgust if there were any willing to look back on. Ooh. So it just looks like it's a very, very avant-garde way of talking about not going along with the party line, trying to fight for your individuality at some level.
What do you think about, so disappear for any hope at redemption, beset by shame. And then you go a little bit further and it says, what is this?
Scourge.
Seed to the unyielding?
Seed.
Fed by repulsion, granted in shame. Bring an end to the reign of the curse. What are we talking about all this shame for? I don't understand.
Well, shame is the number one tactic that cultures use in order to keep people in line. So a lot of people, like for example, there's a danger side to LGBT stuff, sure, but a lot of it is just you're gonna pay a price societally if you do that, especially in certain contexts. Like you go to New York in some places, you go to Jamaica some places, it ain't like that. So there's an inherent risk with being yourself. And most people are not violent, so the number one way that society uses to control people is a concept of shame and embarrassment, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, it was an interesting reversal because, we'd go to these LGBT parades and they just kept saying, shame, shame. It's because they felt shame, and so now they want to put that on you so they can have their place in society type of thing. So shame seems to be the number one sort of cultural application of deterrent punishment that all of us kind of universally agree on, and the reason for that is because it's a non-violent way of handling it.
Yeah.
So it's a really big balance because on the one hand we interpret shame as a negative emotion, which obviously to a degree it is, in the same way that your nerves are a negative aspect of living in a fallen world, but it has saved your life on probably hundreds of thousands of occasions, which you're not familiar with. So we don't know like the ultimate purpose for something until the whole thing is over. But disappear for any hope at redemption. That line is crazy because people always say, oh, as long as you're still alive, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I'm not sure that that's true. Like, people can cross over psychologically and lock themselves into the dark side without having to do any mumbo jumbo or whatever. You just have to have an open heart and
it's the intentions thing.
And that's it. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Yeah.
it's very, very, very important to think these things through. Seed to the unyielding, fed by the repulsion granted in shame, bring an end to the reign of the cursed. And then here's the freaking Taylor Swift thing, I swear to God. The scourge left training the parasitic, entire orders eaten away from the inside. See, entire orders eaten away from the inside. So an order is like a monastic community, right?
Yeah, that's what I was getting. Yeah.
And so it looks like it's saying like whatever is going on is spreading all through the monasteries and whatnot, and it's not good.
Is this well, in the end it says no halting the flood's advance. Let it wash over, no halting the floods. Oh.
See it through to the end.
Yeah. What do you think of that? You think that's a reference to the flood?
Yeah, and that's how he ends the song, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's one of those things where it's like all this pressure is happening to conform, and it's like the world would just be better if we just got rid of everybody. See what I'm saying? Because it says up above, bring an end to the reign of the cursed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things about our, talk about cancel culture. I don't care what you want to call it, but this idea that you did something wrong 10 years ago, and now we have Twitter. So we're gonna send a screenshot, and now you're gonna lose your job. You said some reckless shit about black people like 10 years ago when you were 14, and now you're supposed to say you're deeply sorry. You're going to counseling. Maybe throw your parents under the bus. My parents were racist.
They were racist.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
All types of fluky shit. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So what society does is like we have these cumulative punishments, and it's largely in shame. Like right now with Drake and Kendrick, he's like, they need to put your boys on neighborhood watch because y'all out here talking. That's a shame tactic that is used. I think there have been millions of decisions that have been made for the health and welfare of a child in the minds of these people. See what I'm saying? So there's more than one way to skin a cat. Everybody knows what my solution is to them folks. But that's not... They don't have a chance of redemption either. See what I'm saying? Like in my world, fuck those people, bro. Like I'd line you all up. I don't care. But look at the song. The song is talking about people who are shamed to the point of no redemption. And so like it's completely inappropriate as a Christian to advocate for that. Because we're not agents of wrath, we're agents of mercy. And so like that is a very humane alternative. Let's just shame you into not, into not hurting these kids, and maybe when you're marginalized and isolated, you'll actually go out and get the help. Because what's happening right now ain't it. Especially when you talk about the church. Because in the church, we discriminate against people who we shouldn't, and then we accept people in who we shouldn't. So God forbid that, I saw this in my own two eyes. Like, I'm trying to keep it general.
That's so friggin'
But
nuts.
but I
those
saw
two
I
side by
saw
side.
a gay
Wow.
these two lesbians, gay couple, and they would sing, they would worship, but they were clearly together. They had a daughter, I think. And we were all watching this, and people were getting more and more and more and more agitated. They wanted to. They were doing something where they were serving the church. I
They
forgot.
were
what it
in the
was.
worship team, I thought.
Nah, they weren't in worship.
No?
No, but it was something. It was like some behind the scenes money thing that they
Oh, okay.
wanted to contribute to the church. We would take their money. Eventually, I don't know the exact story, but they got chased out of the church basically, and like after the the aftermath of it, they were explaining like why and what the Bible says and all that. And I just remember just being really quiet because I was trying to because they were with us for like 6 or 7 Sundays, and like one of the guys who to me was the most gentle person I've ever met in my life.
Oh no. What did he do?
His face was red and he was angry. He said they had an agenda, blah, blah, blah.
Which is
and I just remember, well, I mean, the gay agenda. They were all, watching Fox News and shit. They're Maine. Like, you gotta give them some grace, man. Damn. But like, I
didn't know what they thought their agenda was.
Well, there's no real like, there was no gay agenda. They wanted to get married. They wanted to have last rites. They wanted to make sure their jobs were secure. I mean, look, Obergefell decision went through. Nothing happened. Nobody died. Nobody perished. Like what? But like, so that couple.
I'm not gonna lie. I actually did think when people started signing for people to get married, like gay folks, I remember thinking, this could end America. Like I really thought.
Jesus, help us,
I really, I had
end
no.
America.
But at that point, I didn't realize the other things that were going on inside of evangelical churches. Like I didn't understand
but you knew we were
with
engaged in a war that was taking the lives of thousands of innocent people a day.
What, we talking about abortion?
No, I'm talking about war. Like all the wars we've been in.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Well, you knew that we were killing folk, didn't you?
Well, I mean, yeah, I knew America was killing people, but we're talking about the church and like what? Oh, you're saying no, I didn't. No, because I believed the propaganda. I believed that we were over there doing good. And I didn't spend a lot of time in politics. I spent my time more in the spiritual realm. I would have rather sit down with a homeless person on the park bench and talk to them than discuss politics. I really had no interest in the lying, changing political atmosphere because I just didn't feel like it was. I do think it's important though now, but at the time I didn't think politics were that important.
Yeah.
I figured I'd leave that to the people that were interested in, and I'd do my thing. But
we had a couple meetings about them ladies, and then
that church loved doing meetings, huh?
Only against certain people.
Yeah.
Because we had a child molester there, and it was
no meetings.
It wasn't like a Drake situation where the girl was 17 and the other one was like.
I'm pretty sure she was like 12.
She was 12 and he was like 34.
And she was asleep.
Yeah, he violated this girl. He spent over a decade in prison, and he got out, and he wanted to come.
He was not reformed.
He wanted to come to our church, but our church was a converted bar. So I said, well, we can't do that because he's like, well, just because of what's on my past. I said, yeah, that's 100%.
100%.
That's why. So no, we're not gonna let you in there. I'm not gonna let you around my kids.
And just to be clear, before I knew what he was, first of all, I never. If any man was going to talk to my daughter, that was a no-go. But he, like, this guy, like, when I came by with her, like, he didn't look once at me. He was looking at my daughter the entire time, and I thought, that is weird.
It's fucking unnatural.
And then he was talking to her about how pretty her dress was, so I just moved her forward because I'm like, this guy's acting really weird. And then turns out he, went after little
one of the OGs,
girls.
One of the OGs at the block, she came over and she's like, yo, that dude's in the sex offender. What y'all doing?
Yeah.
And I looked at it, I'm like, oh, okay. All right. See, they would turn in disgust if there were any willing to look back on it. So it's like, there are things. I was watching a YouTube thing and there's a group of people who are upset that people are disgusted, in certain aspects of things. And disgust is a very important emotion. It's an extremely important emotion. It's one of the things that has kept us alive over the last millions and millions of years, because these things are encoded, and a lot of times the things that smell bad are bad for you, and you don't want to be around them for obvious reasons. So there are selection pressures that make it so that is an asset to you. But imagine being in a situation where you could never be disgusted. I mean, think about this. Like, you don't have to tell the babies, like, stop playing around in crap or whatever, because they're grossed out by it after a certain point. Like, for example, Orion.
No, I hear you.
They get grossed out. And the reason there's an evolutionary reason for why they get grossed out. right? Because that is a waste product.
Yeah.
And so if you re-ingest that, you're going to be in a worse situation. So God programs it like, okay, we're going to make this one really gross so you can avoid that thing as much as possible. That's the proper application of shame. If you're shaming somebody for their own sake, that's one thing. If you're shaming somebody because they're in a vulnerable position, that's another thing. I look at shame as a means of a non-violent means of getting a point across that you should use sparingly, especially when it relates to other people. I don't even, like, I try my best not even to have a conflicting conversation with my kids in front of everybody. I'll be like, all right, let's go to the room real quick. I gotta talk about some shit. So I'm trying to protect their,
It's true.
But like the disgust angle is really important, and all of us are very like big on the positive thinking all the time. It's like, okay, that's great, think positively, but like, I don't want any kind of positivity that doesn't require realness of how the actual world works. Staring in the mirror and saying, I'm worthy, I'm beautiful, blah, 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 blah. She's beautiful. Okay, I'm smart. Okay, like I don't have the physical gifting thing, and I don't need it. I'm smart. So, really weak on the physical side, cognitive side, smart. So, we bond together. But if you see right there, I've got this friend. His name's he's got an issue with miscegenation. He has a problem with me and Sori being together. She posted something on Twitter. He thought it was like a new kid. He's like, "You guys race mixed again?" What? But like dudes like that, right? Like he's gonna end up, like if he became famous or whatever, like they would use these conversations to try to paint him like, ew, he's this, disgustingly horrible creature, but that's how disgust operates. Like, and I think it's a very good, I think the instinct that we have to overcome our disgust without interrogating that is one of the most craziest facts of human life. Like, you've got this thing in your head and you're not interrogating it, you're just going along with it. All right, do it. So yeah, like now with the cancel culture, now everybody's disgusted by everybody's attitude, and there's this whole public, like you've seen it happen with poor Anna Kasparian. She's out here trying to be a journalist, and she's getting worked out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, and she's taking it great, but sealed to the unyielding, fed by repulsion, granted in shame, bring an end to the reign of the cursed. Let it wash over. No. So it just ends in sort of this nihilistic, like, boom. Flood happens, we're gone. This is on the night for me, 9.3.
This one probably would have gotten that, but like I said, I felt it was a little long in the middle for me. So
a little too proggy.
It was just a little like, no, because prog just kind of feels like it's going a lot of places. This one, like in the middle, it felt like I experienced it like it wasn't moving forward. So I'm gonna give this one an 8.9. Don't worry, you guys. There's still one more song that the True Cult has picked for us tonight.
Let's see
White
you on
Ward
the other
is
side
up
of the
next.
break. White
We'll be
Ward.
right back.
I gotta be White Ward.
You know why.
Bastard. I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the Filthy Capitalist option. As Sori says, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and then get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at insori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is a community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Vinand Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed, and Josh, lead them.
To buy our merch.
Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener. We are in a cult energy right now.
Yep.
If you guys want to be part of our cult, we're gonna be having some spots open for you beautiful people. So hey, if you want to get your cult on, if you're feeling like too much of a normal person, if you're feeling too secure in yourself, come join our cult where you can feel insecure, you can feel terrible, you can be told that everything you believed is a lie. I am the only repository and source for truth. It's over with.
Yep. So
yeah, I've been known to run organizations.
Anyway, wonderful. White Ward, silence circles.
This is Neil. Join us, he said.
We have cookies.
He said join us.
It makes sense that one of these sort of meltdowns would happen in the middle of a true cult.
Doctor. We got Jake, we got Jet in this bitch. Right?
Jet's in. We've already got 2 members, Neil and Jet.
And we got President Joe Biden in this bitch.
There we go. There we go.
That's gonna count for like a double word score.
Yep, we are gonna. Never mind, I'm not gonna finish that. One of the things says
did you do the
Neil.
timestamp for this?
I did. One of the things says Neil. We like to promote in the True Cult Alliance is to expose Vin and Sori to new bands on a regular basis. To do this, we put some restraints on song submissions for bands that have had multiple reactions on the channel. However, in this case, we flipped the script and had a collection of songs from bands that we have had multiple reactions of. The winning selection ended up being Silence Circles by White Ward. A progressive, you love progressive, black metal band from Ukraine. Previously, you have heard the songs Stillborn Knowledge and Surfaces and Depths from this band.
That's a pretty ballsy move there.
Very.
All right. Next thing you know, you're going to get me an Israeli death metal band. That'll really do it.
Yep.
All right, here we go. Palestine from the river to the sea, bitches. Say what you want. Let's go. Silent circles. Let's do it. Oh, that's spooky as hell, bro. Don't go in that building.
Look out. Don't look in the mirror. Ugh, does have a kind of sort of creepy feel to it.
It's gonna hurt you.
I'm scared.
Of course you would be.
Protect me. Ooh. Yes,
Forgive
I
all.
agree.
Forgive
Forgive
all.
all.
Forgive all. Oh man, I love that song. Can't get harder than that song, bro.
And the
Guitar work was crazy on that shit.
I agree that
Talk
it has
to
some
me.
like Kenny G sort of sound to it. I don't know if that was a saxophone or what was going on there, but that is interesting. I liked it.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Ukraine, bro.
Oh, that's right.
They produced a badass band. I really like the song a lot.
Yep.
There was a lot of styles on here, bro. Like everybody knows, like I gotta have the tremolo picking, but there was some Iron Maiden shit like toward the end. It was like more conventional, you know, scales and shit like that. But it's so perfect because they were not avant-garde, but they were using combinations you don't usually use.
Yeah, 100%.
And then like you finally got your mind to like, and then boom. And now here's something to your the neuronic path that you've heard for like years and years. It just works, man. Like you deny that like that satisfaction because you know the break is coming, but you hold it off just a little bit longer. So when it does hit, it's crazy. Korn used to do that a lot. Like first couple records, they did that with the Rising Action and shit. It's completely manipulate the crowd. Like
really?
Well, yeah. Like think about it. You know. You got these gaps where like there's no music playing and you're just, you know, and then the music comes in and building a crescendo. This shit is crazy. Does Neil play sax? Which one of them plays sax?
I mean, Archero.
Okay.
But I don't know. Neil, do you do any instruments?
I gotta send.
I'm not familiar.
I gotta send.
Him the track? Archero?
Yeah. I want to see what he does with that.
Oh, I agree, yeah.
Hey, Cheryl, seriously, go ahead and put.
Oh, he plays the trombone.
He plays trombone. Okay.
We need somebody that plays the saxophone. Somebody did.
Somebody plays the sax,
said
right?
something on the channel before about it. So, if that's you, send us an email.
Okay, Archero plays the trombone, hence the fucking trombone in his picture.
Yeah. Idiots. Babe.
I still want to send it to him though.
Yeah, do it.
I want to see what he does.
Do it.
The candy one that me and Cecil are working on.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, he says itching palms turn into fists. The stronger always blames the weaker.
Where's what's the date here? June 17th, 2022. Okay, so that means Russia's already invaded by this point.
Archero's wife plays the clarinet.
If you want something close to it. Bro, I'm just gonna send you the track, the instrumental, and just put whatever you want on it, bro. Honestly. Between the both of y'all. And then we're gonna have to think about how to get you in the music video. Because a trombone and a clarinet player, so like those two playing, and then me and you just be like, I mean, she's a ready-made rock star. What?
You're just being very nice. It's very cute.
Alright. Go ahead.
Okay, itching palms turn into fists. It's kind of interesting. Usually itchy palms are. Is that my phone?
That means you want to steal some shit.
For that. Itching. Oh, steal shit? We always heard it meant you were coming into money.
Well, yeah, you're coming into money because you're about to steal some shit. Your forefathers did it on a grand level. It was so big they was like, forget it. We were just here.
All right. The stronger always blames the weaker. That's interesting.
Well, again, you have to have Russia in the background, right? Of this whole discussion, because this song came out June 17, 2022. You know, the invasion had already been happening. So, see what I'm saying?
Oh.
So you've got to look at it from the context of that. It says the stronger always blames the weaker. These walls don't have ears. A broken mirror doesn't flicker. You know? So it's like you're blaming us for your action, but in reality, it's your fault, and you have to look yourself in the mirror at the end of the day, and yada yada yada. Itching palms turn into fists. The strong always blames the weaker. Beloved ones are enemies. A broken soul doesn't. I don't know if fitter is right or if filter is the right one to do.
This one, a broken soul doesn't flitter. Is what it says here.
What does flitter mean?
Well, like this. That's what I assumed.
Kind of
yeah, a broken soul doesn't flitter. Like,
Doesn't just sail away or something.
No, I took that as beloved ones are enemies. A broken soul doesn't flitter. In other words, if the people that you love are your enemies, but your soul is so broken, you're not gonna flitter or falter when it comes time to ball up your fists and do what you have to do. Because remember, there was discussion. Your memory's going to be better, but there was discussion about, I don't know, people in one side not wanting the conflict to be happening, but they just happen to be on that side, even though their loyalties were to the other side.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It becomes very complex.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's similar to wavering. So a broken soul doesn't waver. Itching palms turn into fists. A strong always blames the weaker. Beloved ones are enemies. A broken soul doesn't fit her. Well, I guess it's a way of saying I got pushed to my limit, and so like I'm making this decision. That's it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. You cannot alter my path. Gray lives under a surface. Silent circles compel me to zip my leap. I didn't understand that. Days drown in stigma, like a snake that bites its tail. Always with a poisonous kiss.
Silent circles compel me to maintain the status quo.
Talking about betrayal?
I think he's talking about like who he is as a person, or his actual feelings are below the surface, because he's in a society where he's not allowed to express that. You know, he's just days drowned in stigma.
Yeah.
It's funny because like I'm listening to all these manosphere guys, and it's like, don't cry in front of your wife. Your wife's gonna lose respect for you. I do think like if you're crying over some dumb shit, like, you know, your favorite basketball team lost a game or some shit, you start crying. Like, I get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course. But there's other situations, man, where that's not the case. And there are going to be times, obviously, as a man, like, I believe in gender roles. I believe that, you know, something goes bump in the night, I'm going to the door. But there have been times, especially recently, where I've had to be like, all right, Sori, you got to do this, because I'm not getting into the details, but I was too close to the situation. And so at that point, I could no longer trust, you know, I try to keep it just like I was taught, man. Like the minute the person becomes more of a liability than an asset, you got to sit them down. Doesn't matter how long they've been doing it. Doesn't matter how, doesn't matter what their card says. It doesn't matter, none of that shit. Like, if he's out, he's out. And so I was in a situation where I'm like, I just had to like step outside of myself and say, you're done, man. Like, you can't make any decisions right now. You just can't make any. And so like I outsourced that to you as a moment of weakness for me. But I didn't feel for a second that you were going to be like, oh, be a man, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't feel like I have anything to prove as far as being a man around you. And I think, you know, Gray lives under the surface. Silent circles compel me to zip my leap.
I think
days drown. The days drowned in stigma is the big thing. A lot of people, a lot of dudes are going through that right now. It's just a stigma of like weakness, and they're seeing Andrew Tate on YouTube, and they're trying to emulate Andrew Tate and Sneeko and all these other people. Like, they don't know what Andrew Tate was doing in his room with his girl when he lost his first match or whatever. They don't know. All they're knowing is a projection from this dude, and they want to be like that dude. But like, that's not how that's not how it works. So that a lot of that shit is under the surface for him.
Yeah, I think that, like, you know, going back to the topic of, you know, men crying, I think that you're right. One is, I mean, you don't want him crying over, you know, you bought him the wrong soap and he's crying because he wanted another soap, you know, and something like that, like silly things that don't really in the grand scheme of things matter. But I mean, like, I have met girls, obviously I was younger when they said this, so maybe perhaps they've changed their point of view, but I have met girls that have said, like, I never want to see him cry, like, that's way too uncomfortable, I never ever want to see that. I'm not that type of person. And I can't speak for the masses because I don't really know, like, I haven't had a conversation like this. I'm now close to 40, so when I was 16 and 18 years old, that conversation was, I never want to see it, but I don't know if that would still, if those people would still say the same thing now. But I think that, you know, when you see somebody that can be vulnerable around you, or can, like, accept that they also have weaknesses. And I mean, nobody is perfectly strong, and there are things that should and do affect people's emotions. And I think that when you really love somebody, you want to know them, and you want them to know you, and there's something that's shared in moments of vulnerability when, you know, like, because obviously you have to trust me. Like, if you're in an emotional state, you have to trust me that I'm not going to be like, what the fuck, get away from me with those tears, you know what I mean? Like, and, you know, I know for me, like, being able to be like a supportive person in a situation where you need the support and it's clear and obvious that you do, in some ways feel like, oh, I was made for this. Like it's a crazy feeling. But I think that if you can't have those vulnerabilities in your relationship, then, you know.
Yeah, it's some of like the worst advice I've ever heard from these people. Is like they're like, crying for your boy, it's not your girl. I'm like, I don't know, man. My girl's my best friend. So, you know, like, yeah, of course, just because I love my niggas. I love my niggas for sure, but such a girl. Like, your girl, your wife, it's different because she's the closest thing to God for you. So you're in trouble, you got to go to shorty. Like, you know, but like, I'm trying to not make a habit of it because as a man, you have to lead and things of that nature. But I discovered that what I needed most as a leader in any context is self-awareness, because I watch people and I see where the fuck-ups happen, and it's like, you were lacking in so much self-awareness when you made that decision, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
I think for me, it's easier to follow you when I've seen other sides of your person, like vulnerabilities and stuff, because then I'm like, okay, like, because sometimes, especially with you, you're so strong and you're so masculine and you're like, everything is already thought out before even I realized that there was a question. Like, you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it almost like, I don't know, like I like it that you can lean on me on different things, and it makes me feel, you know, obviously we're a team, and so yeah, I don't know, like I think that there are different forms of intimacy in relationships, and that is absolutely one form of it.
Mm-hmm.
For to be vulnerable and to you know, love somebody in their vulnerabilities. And you know, there's been times where I've had extreme weakness and you've been there to support me. So I just think it's a cool thing. And I think that if people can't do that, or they're like, okay, maybe not at this point we can't do that, but you kind of like, you're like, let's tiptoe toward that point where we can be that vulnerable with each other. I think that you're really heading towards something really special. And I think that you would find, you know, that if people can open up, because that's that whole, like, you know how you'll hear, you know, sometimes women that do sex work, they'll be like, yeah, these men, they can't talk to their wives. Like, that's why they come here.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, we've heard that. Yeah.
That means that there is something, you know, lacking in the male soul to be able to like, not like, they have something that they want to be able to share, and it's gonna, you know, like, it's cool to just be able to provide that for each other, and recognize that, I don't know, that would be really sad if you had to go to somebody else to be vulnerable.
Stop being a target. Choose your destiny. Put your finger on a trigger. Because you can. Word is your weapon. Silence is your tomb. Stop being a target.
I liked that part, because when he said word is your weapon, silence is your tomb, like, there is a lot that gets accomplished through our words and what we do with them and how, you know, how we speak out against stuff or whatever. But then when it said silence is your tomb, that like applies to so much stuff. I mean, there's a lot of things that because people were silent on, people ended up dead. And so, you know, I mean, we kill over 3,000 babies a day in this country. A day for abortion. So, you know, there's a lot of folks, you know, we talked about this in previous reviews. There's a lot of folks that don't want to say anything because the women in their family are, you know, they're pro-choice and they're the ones with the uterus. So you can't say anything, but like, you have a voice for a reason, and you have your own logic and your own understanding of it. And if you're looking at these kids and you're saying this is not the best decision here, you know, sometimes people make decisions because they don't feel like that they have the support of the people around them to accomplish whatever, like, birthing this child and raising this child is going to, you know, they don't feel like they have the support. And so then, you know, people do crazy things when they get backed into a corner or when they get fearful. Fear makes we make bad decisions. So, you know, I think that even if, like, if you go to somebody and you're going to them, I think there's different ways, right? There's some ways that we can tell somebody, like, you're wrong, blah, and you create, like, such a toxic environment for them that even if they go through with their bad decision and 10 years later they realize they were deeply wrong, they're not going to come talk to you. But there are other ways of telling people, like, this is not the path. I'm going to help you out. Whatever I can do, I'm going to help you out. And then if the person goes through with it anyway, you know, like, when they when they start realizing like the effect that it's having on them, you want to become a place of safety for them to come and talk about it with, because that's gonna create some dark nights if you're, you know, if you look in at what you did and you look in at what happened, like, you know, our friend, I don't know, she says her story publicly, right? Where they didn't show her the right ultrasound picture.
Yeah.
And then
Albany Rose. Yeah.
They didn't show her the right ultrasound photo, and then so she went through with the abortion, and then she ended up seeing a baby that was younger than the baby she aborted, and she realized, like, that's not what I was shown, and it was absolutely more than basically just a clump of cells that, and that she had a really difficult time with that. Now, I mean, she's obviously turned that to speaking out on behalf of the babies and stuff like that, but yeah, holy shit.
I like it because it's striking a middle ground, because it's like, if you look at the first kind of stanza, it says, stop being a target, choose your destiny, put your finger on the trigger because you can.
Yep.
If you stopped it right there, it's one of those, this guy's encouraging school shootings.
Oh.
But if you look at the next set of lines, I think he's trying to do a little bit of a pincer movement here, because he says, your word is your weapon.
Yeah.
Silence is your tune. Stop being a target, keep your finger. So now, stop being a target, keep your finger on the trigger is not go and shoot up the school. It's, you've got words, use them. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's crazy because that was kind of the defense mechanism I came up, you know, because you know, God bless them, but Jamaican parents, your children being your property or whatever, there's really not much of a line. And so, like, look, bro, they'd smack you, they do all types of smack you out of nowhere.
Jeez.
For shit that happened 4 or 5 days ago, you know? And it was like, what are you going to do? You going to hit your hands on your mother?
He's like, the neighbor could hit you, then they come home and they tell your mother, and your mother hits you because the neighbor had to hit you? Yeah, that's the mindset in Jamaica. But, like, she's in America. She's doing all this crazy shit. You know, shout out to her, but damn. And so I became a very, like, I would try to destroy you verbally. Like, I would, you know, and me and my mom, we had wars, and I would take it there. You know what I'm saying? Because I was so upset about being hit all the time. You know what I mean? Like, as we go to school, and we got in so many conflicts because, like, I couldn't handle, like, getting hit all the time. And I'm like, somebody's got to pay for this shit. And so, you know, we got a whole bunch of stupid trouble and shit for no reason. You know what I mean? Like, but if I would have been able to really talk through it, you know, maybe, I don't know, maybe a lot of shit would have been different, you know? But, like, if you go here, silent circles compel me to maintain the status quo. It's true, because, like, people talk about the social contract, right? Like, especially secular humanists. Yep.
Like, we've all, like, collectively signed this social contract. It's like one of the silliest things I've ever heard in my life. What do you mean we all collectively signed a cultural contract? Please.
You know, on what topic?
On any topic. Usually it comes up with morality, like, they'll say you don't need God for morality because, you know, the social contract. It's like, there are so many assumptions about the social contract that necessitate God that, like, I didn't have the time to explain. But, like, if you look here, stop being a target, choose your destiny. Like, everybody wants to hear that, especially if you perceive yourself to be a marginalized individual. Mm-hmm. You love the whole get back aspect of this shit. But I love the fact that he put the get back in the context of, see what I'm saying?
Yeah, using your words as a weapon.
Using your words as a weapon. And then saying, you're not going to die if somebody kills you. You're going to die if you hold the shit into yourself. Yeah. So express yourself. I thought, you know, like, if you want to look for, especially as a Christian, like, if you want to look for, oh, this is blasphemous, this is leading the kid astray, blah, 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 like, you can find it, bro. I was just listening to one of these worship songs on the way, whatever, and the guy had like 7 heresies by the time I, you know, turned the corner. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Like, this shit is just, you know, like, I don't know. Like, as the washer said, there's enough in your prayers to send you to hell forever. I mean, good night.
Yeah, I mean, I used to agree, you know, that sort of, I don't anymore. Now I feel like, you know, there's a lot of ways to Jesus. There's only one way to the Father. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. Nobody gets to the Father but by him. Like, Jesus is the only way. But there's a lot of different ways to get to Jesus. And I think that a lot of what we do is based on our intentions, because you're never going to be able to do stuff perfectly. and certainly at the beginning of like switching mindsets and mentalities, like when you first come into the kingdom, you're at the farthest, we call it sanctification, which is the process of becoming more and more holy as you continue to walk with Christ. And so I think that somebody at the beginning, the person just becomes a Christian, and it says that all of the angels in heaven rejoice because that person, like a sinner, came home, like somebody came back to God's family, or came to God's family. So when you have a situation like that and the person is so new, there's going to be so much stuff they're doing wrong, you know what I mean? But their intention and the intention of their heart is they're trying to get to Jesus as much as they can, and they're trying to understand as much as they can. And so, yeah, when they're praying, they're probably saying all these things. But you know what? Go read the book of Job. I mean, Job, I used to look at the book of Job and I was like, oh, he maintained his perfection, and he didn't. He questioned God. And God said stuff back to him, and like the whole interaction is just a really interesting dialogue between a man in the midst of his deep suffering, emotional, physical, mental, everything. And in the midst of that suffering, he's having conversation with God, and you watch how this interaction happens. But I just think that the intention of our heart, that's why we say sometimes, like, okay, you don't believe that God exists, but you're like, maybe he does. I'm in a real bad place right now, pretty much at the end of my rope, and I don't know how much longer I'm gonna last. Okay, well, try. Let the intention of your heart be, you know what, if there's somebody out there and you really are a God of this universe and you made me, I want to know you. So unless you reveal yourself to me, I'm not going to see you. So please help me. And like, if the intention of your heart is to see him, he's going to reveal himself to you. He's going to show himself to you in one way or the other. And don't be surprised if it doesn't happen exactly when you pray that. But within the next 2 weeks, you just keep your eye out. You're going to see something. God's going to do something. You know? So you know what I mean? I hear what Washer's saying, you know, is enough. But he's always so extreme and condemning. And I just don't see it like that anymore. If your intention is pure and you're praying all these crazy prayers, like sometimes, like that one guy was having a near-death experience, and he said, like, he ended up in like this hellish place and he did not know what to do. And so he kept getting this thought in his head that was like, ask God for help, pray to God. And he like kept pushing the thought off, because he spent his entire life being an atheist, and it was hard for him to kind of like, in the midst of this extreme situation where he was like in this hellish environment because he had died, that he was like, you know, having a real hard time with it. But then he started to pray, he said, but it was really cute because he was like, God bless America. And he was just like, he didn't know what to say. And like, sometimes I gotta tell you, every time you guys do this, like, it freaking steals my heart. Sometimes people will send emails and they'll like tell us, I don't know how to pray, but this is basically what I said to God. And it's
always good.
It's so, I love it because it's like, you can see it's like just genuine, like, you know, God, I don't know who you are, or if you're even there, or how's the weather up there, like, because they don't know, you know what I mean? And but that, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's just conversation with God. That's it. So whatever you're doing, talk the regular way you talk to your friends, whatever, like you can, that's how it is with God. But I love it every time that, you know, you guys share that with us.
Jet, the scripture says, you'll seek me and find me when you seek me with your whole heart. I will be found by you, says the Lord. Mm-hmm. It's just a little bit of a peekaboo. Stay with it. Stay with it. I promise you, one of these days you're going to walk in here and you're like, crazy.
See, and the thing is, God knows the difference, right? Because there's sometimes that we're like, you're in such a bad situation, you're willing to do anything, but your intention really isn't like, oh, I have to know this God. It's just like, I have to get out of this bad situation, then he's a means to an end. You can't trick God, you know, like, he can use that. Sometimes he uses it, but, you know, there's one girl that, you know, I've been following her for years. Really bad spot. Then she's like, you know, I'm gonna do this right. I'm not dancing with my demons anymore. I'm going after God. And then it'll be like just a couple posts. Stuff starts getting better for her. And as soon as stuff gets better for her, then she circles back around. She goes back, you know, and she literally uses the phrase, you know, dance with the devil. So, you know, God knows. God knows.
What do you get the song?
You go first.
I'm gonna get this one a 9.4. 9.4. Last two songs, they ended with a freaking punch in the gut.
This one was really crazy sonically. You know, they had this is the one with the Kenny G sound in there, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna match
Holy
you.
hell, did you guys
9.4.
listen to the Pain of Salvation song Vocari Dei? It is a track that is just messages people left for God. It's pretty amazing.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah. Wait. Hopefully somebody...
The last time I danced with the devil, my son was conceived. Subhanallah. Astaghfirullah.
Shit, Isaac.
So your son is half Satan. Okay. Sounds good.
He's calling his wife the devil.
I mean, that is a logical
What in the
ramification.
world?
Well, I don't know if it's still his wife.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It could be his BM, could have been all that.
Well, whoever the young lady was.
If you're praying for something you really want and God doesn't make it happen, is there a reason? Yes. Yes, there are reasons, and I'll explain to you in a second. Okay, so what did you give it?
I gave it a 9.4 as well.
I'm going to give it a 9.5.
Why would you do that? I was matching you.
Vin out.
Sorry, out.
Down. Okay, some of this, Jet, is you will not understand until you're a parent. But Jet asked the question, if you're praying something you really want and God doesn't make it happen, is there a reason? And the answer...
I have a story for you about it.
Go for it.
So there was this lady, her name is Amy Carmichael. I'm pretty sure it was Amy Carmichael. She ended up being a missionary. She had brown eyes and she wanted blue eyes desperately. And so she prayed and prayed that God would give her blue eyes. And she was convinced that God was going to answer that prayer because she was a little girl and she really, really wanted it. But she woke up the next day and she had her brown eyes and she was really super disappointed with it. And it was something that kind of like hurt her in her relationship with God for like an extended period of time. Because for whatever reason, that was really important to her. And she felt that she was going to probably experience God's love through the changing of her eye color. Anyway, years later, she ends up doing this ministry where she was going into the sex temples in, you know, other countries where their skin is not white. And I don't remember exactly where she was. But she would take tea and she would dye her skin around her eyes. And then she had the normal hijabs that they would wear. And because she had the brown eyes, she was able to get into these places where if she had the blue, they'd have picked her out like that. She got so many kids out of that temple because of that. So I think that, you know, there's also Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, before he goes to the cross. He's actually in a conversation with God the Father, which again is prayer when you're talking to God. And he says, look, if there's any other way to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish here, where I don't have to do this, like, let's do that. But not my will, yours be done. And so here you have Jesus, who's God, doesn't get his prayer answered. And the reason he doesn't get his prayer answered in the way that, you know, because he said if there's another way, no, there was no other way. The cross was the only way where God could mash together the mercy that he wanted to be able to give us, while at the same time him not letting go of his righteousness and his judgment that has to come on sin. So because God is a good God, he has to deal with the sin aspect of it. And that's why Jesus died on the cross, was he bore that punishment so that we could be in a different place. So in the example of Jesus and in the example of Amy Carmichael, you see that the prayers didn't get answered because there was something beyond that, something that they couldn't see in the moment that they were in. And so, I mean, I would apply that. I think that, you know, there are some situations and circumstances that are you can't really explain them very well. For instance, if somebody is sex trafficked and they're stuck in some trap house somewhere and they're praying and begging God to get them out and they stay stuck in there. Eventually, I think that a purpose is going to be revealed in that. But I definitely think that things like that are a lot, you know, maybe you have something to say, you know.
I mean, no, I think that that's pretty much what I was thinking about it. These picks are very kind of flowed with each other, and they had a really good build up too. So, itching palms turn into
no, we were done with this one. Do you remember we're talking about the when God doesn't answer your prayers from Jet? Jet was saying that. You know what I'm saying? So when we got to the part where we're talking about like, for stuff like change the eye color or Jesus with the cross and stuff like that, like some of those things seem to me like obvious. For like when I had my miscarriage, I mean, I prayed and begged God that he wouldn't take that baby, but it still happened, you know, like I still lost the baby and I still missed the baby. Even I've had many babies after, and it's still, you know, that pain is still there. But I know I changed as a person in the area of empathy and sympathy toward other people, and understanding, because everybody goes through painful situations. And my pain is not your pain and your pain is not mine. But when we go through something painful, if we take that understanding of what pain feels like, and then you look at that when you're talking to somebody else and they're going through a hard time, and you're like, okay, I don't know what it is to go through what you're going through, but I do know what it is to experience pain, and I know how troubling that can be. And it can be hard when you're in the midst of a painful situation and God doesn't answer the prayer like you think that he should. For instance, you know, please don't have my baby die. Like, I want this baby, and this baby's going to get raised in a good home, and, you know, but that wasn't the plan that God had. So what would you say to the girl that's stuck in like a sex trafficking situation, and she's praying for God to help her, and he does it, and she stays stuck in that situation for years? Like, those are harder for me. Like, I still stand by that God is doing something in those environments, and that, you know, God can be near to people in those situations, but that is...
Are prayers like wishes? If you tell someone else what your prayer is, they won't come true. There are Christians that will say that. That's completely unbiblical. It's not true. It's not true to, if you pray too much, or you're letting the devil know your game plan, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't believe in any of that shit. It's just, we got to understand what prayer is. And that's one of the reasons why I wish everybody could be a mother and a father. Because, like, I wake up, you know, and there's this loud screeching voice, and it's Seneca, and he's calling for me. And so Sori's like, yo, Seneca's calling for you, blah, blah, blah. And it's such a crazy feeling to have this dude, like, waddle over to you and land in your lap, and then turn around, watch TV, you know, suck his fingers. And it was just, it's so cool to be able to have that. Now, think for a second. I love that boy. I love all those kids. But there's been a lot of times when they've asked for things that in the moment would have been good for them, where I've said no. And the reason for that can be a million things. One thing it might be is that this is not objectively wrong, but this kid has a penchant for this kind of situation. So, like, if you're a giant thief and you steal everything, and then you get grounded on Halloween, so while everybody's trick-or-treating, you're at the house. Now we come back with the candy. Okay, now what's going to happen? Right? Like, we're going to give he's going to ask for candy. He's going to say he learned his lesson. I'm going to say, no, you did not. Because this has been going on for X amount of years, and etc. So that's one aspect of looking at it, which is to say, sometimes you walk yourself into a bad situation, and then God will allow you to go through that bad situation and not rescue you, so that you don't fuck up on the next major situation. That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is Paul's writing this from prison, I think in Titus. He says, I bear all things for the sake of the elect.
Yep.
In other words, sometimes God doesn't answer our question because we're not the focus. Like, we're always the focus in our own show, but like, I had a conversation with somebody recently, and I said, I would rather you say that to my wife than you say that to your wife. Right? And so, like,
Yep.
if you're looking at discipline that way, you know, it comes a lot less about the pissing contest and more to be able to be a consultant, offer wisdom. But at the end of the day, I don't know if I should say this. I'll say this. It's good to ventilate when you're mad or you're feeling an injustice because of this particular topic.
In prayer, you're saying ventilate that to God.
Yeah.
Why are you answering this?
Yeah, because, you know, like, what else are you going to do? You're going to solve the problem on your own? That's kind of what got us all in the trouble in the first place, you see what I'm saying? But we're also in a Facebook environment where everybody's, like, putting out their best version of themselves all the time, you know what I'm saying? And so then when you get into songs like this, it's like, can you even have authentic relationships anymore? There's a lot at stake. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm all over the place with this because there's so many things at stake that you think about when you hear songs like this and when you hear what people are saying. Like, combine what people are saying at the art level compared to what, you know, we had conversations about the weirdo shit that's happening with mannequins and shit. It's just weird, man. Like, so it's hard to kind of keep your head. You know what I'm saying? What do you get the song?
We already figured this one.
All right, you beautiful people. We out of here. Later, Jet. Later, Kobe. All the rest of you beautiful
Bye, guys.
people.
Thanks
I
for
am
coming
gone,
through.
gone. Bye.